Welcome to Cinematic AF. My name is Richard.
I'm Max.
And we just got back from seeing Blade Runner 2049. Max is here today because, Max, this is kind of a movie that you were really hyped for. Why is that? Obviously, besides it being a Blade Runner sequel.
Right. Well, I watched Blade Runner a long time ago, and it seems like a lot of people really love Blade Runner, and I'm kind of like, I don't not like it.
You have to be very careful because if you say anything bad, our comment section goes straight to hell.
I did fall asleep half the times I watched it.
And there goes our comment section.
But it wasn't like a bad movie or anything. It made a cool world and everything like that. But I was excited for it because Denis, how do you say his name?
Villeneuve. Denis Villeneuve?
Denis Villeneuve is one of my favorite directors right now. He did Prisoners, he did Enemy, he did Arrival, Sicario, all those ones. I love all those movies. And my favorite cinematographer, Roger Deakins, shot it. And boy, oh boy, was that a treat. It looked real good.
Shot the shit out of this movie.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, because for me, it's I liked Blade Runner a lot, but it was never one of those movies I held to some great standard. It was never I loved it still. It's a really great movie, but it's not one I held dear to my heart. But for me, it was okay, the idea that Harrison Ford is returning, I like that. Ryan Gosling's one of my favorite actors around. Man crush for days. I was excited that it was Denis Villeneuve because I've said some things about Ridley Scott, especially after this year when he failing Covenant. I was like, oh, don't let him ruin another franchise of his. But he didn't direct it. He only produced Blade Runner 2049. And I can safely say that I really loved it. That was a great movie.
Yeah, it was really good. I really liked it.
Yep.
It was real long.
Yeah.
It was real long.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning right now that we're filming this.
And usually I say that movies are most movies out there are at least a half an hour too long.
Yeah.
I like movies being 90 minutes.
Because you have the attention span that's this big.
No, it's just
you get distracted easily.
No, I think they can tell. Most movies, I think, are able to tell their stories in that amount of time, and they just stretch it out for way too long. But this one, even though it was really long, I think it needed to be to set up its tone and to pay homage to the old to the first Blade Runner. But yeah, I think and it felt long too. It wasn't one of those movies that is long and you're like, oh yeah, but it only seemed like I was in there because it kept me engaged. No, it feels long, but it's great the whole way through. So it's okay.
That was a backhanded compliment. It's it feels like you're there for a long time.
It's because you are.
Yeah, it was, the reason it's long is because they don't want to release 5 director's cut of this one, and there's a cat in my shot. Again, we have cats. They always keep hopping in and out. They're the real stars of this show. But yeah, so this way they can't release 5 director's cuts, because if there's any more director's cuts, it's going to be 4 hours long. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with this movie, and the problem is that it's hard to talk about without getting the spoilers, because the trailers have been really good about basically just selling hey, we're doing a new Blade Runner movie, hey, we've updated the visuals, but they haven't really told you what the plot was, and I think it's because of how spoiler-centric the plot is. So we're going to try to talk about this without getting into spoilers, but it's hard to have a deep analysis or conversation about it without getting into spoilers.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff that's there that's really good is a spoiler. So I guess we can start with the actors, the performances. Obviously the one we got to talk about first is Gosling, because he's the lead, and oh God, he's so good.
Yeah, he did really well.
He just owns this movie.
Yeah, but I gotta say,
shut up. Right
No. I gotta say, because seeing Denis Villeneuve's other movies, he works with he's worked a lot with Jake Gyllenhaal, who is my favorite actor of all time, and so this whole movie, I was kind of feeling I wonder if he had talked to Jake Gyllenhaal. I wonder if he had been thought of to be that character, because I could kind of see it in some places. I was like, oh, you know what, I think he could do it. But
I'm really glad it wasn't Jake Gyllenhaal.
I did really like Ryan Gosling. I think he did great in
because he has some real intensity in his face. There are a lot of shots that just linger on his face, and there's you can see there's a lot going on, but he does it. It's all.
He got a lot of practice staring in Driver, so he.
You mean Drive?
Whatever.
Like you're confusing Baby Driver and Drive.
I'm not. I would never confuse.
Baby Driver is like
two.
the Diet Coke version of Drive, and then Harrison Ford. You know, it's sad to see how old he's gotten. Like it's great to have him back, but it's like It's like to hear the age in his voice, like when they like are playing audio of like his original dialogue. It's like, man, 1982 was a long time ago.
I did. Yeah, I did. I kind of had that same thought when they were playing the voice clips of him in the first Blade Runner. It was like, oh yeah, you can tell the age that's happened there. But it was cool that he was in it, but it didn't really seem like, I don't know, to me that he did too much. Like he was cool and everything, but like, I don't know, the Ryan Gosling, like it was, the whole show was him, you know, like,
yeah, like
I don't know.
They don't use Ford the way that like they use him in Force Awakens, where he like is kind of a major part. Like he's sort of major in this, but he's not like. It's like I said, it's hard to talk without getting into spoilers.
Yeah, it's not like really like he's a main character. Like I kind of felt like he was going to be.
Yeah, because
from the trailers,
they hyped him up a lot in the trailer.
Yeah, because it was like all the trailers were like Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford. It almost looked like it was going to be like a buddy. Not a buddy cop movie, but like like they were gonna team up or something. And
okay,
be like,
if anyone who makes Blade Runner movies is watching, can we get a buddy like comedy movie set in this universe? Because I think that's what we're all waiting for. It is. He wants to see it. But yeah, like Ford isn't in the movie that much, but he does really well in his parts. Robin Wright is having a.
Oh, she did. Yeah, she was real cool.
Like, I don't want to call it a comeback because she never went away, but like 2017 has been a really good year for her. Like Wonder Woman and now this.
Oh yeah.
Like she's just owning everything.
Yeah,
like,
she was really good.
And then
Dave Bautista, he was really good. Like
I like Dave Bautista with like his little glasses.
His little tiny round glasses.
Yeah, it's like
it
makes him look like kind of older, but a little bit more like sweet. But it also like,
but then he throws a dude through a wall.
Yeah, he throws a dude through a wall.
Like, okay, no.
Just like it's Dave Bautista.
Man, I love the. I know we're talking about actors and stuff and like performances, whatever. But like, I love the sound design in this movie. Like, just all throughout. And the thing that made me think about that is the scenes with Dave Bautista. Like, they really made him sound like heavy and like powerful and stuff. Like just him walking around, it was just like. Oh my gosh, he's gonna bring the house down just like walking.
Oh yeah, there's a part like at first I thought it was like a mess up of the sound because you just heard a boom.
Yeah.
And it was like he just took a step.
Yeah, he was like walking.
He literally just takes a step forward towards Ryan Gosling. Yeah. And that's what you hear, like a boom.
But like that kind of just sets the stage for the rest of the movie and the sound design in it because like just everything sounds super cool. Like this world that they built like is not only in just the visuals, but like that sound is like. It's got to be like 80% of the world that they built. The sound is so cool.
The sound is incredible. It was loud in the theater we saw. Like you could feel the theater shaking. And the cinematography, Roger Deakins, he's got a whole career of wonderful cinematography. But I feel like this is like kind of like his like, just give me my Oscar already. Like, if he doesn't win an Oscar for this, there will be hell to pay. Yeah, the cinematography was just gorgeous. What was interesting about it is that there were shots where like there was so much in frame, I didn't know where my eye was supposed to be drawn to, and like it would take me like a second or two to catch up with like what was the focus, and I kind of liked that because it just made like the world seem more expansive.
I was just blown away by like shot after shot after shot. Like one of the very first shots was that we see of Ryan Gosling is like him walking out of this like. Cloudy stuff after his car just landed, and like I just like threw my hands up. I was like, this is beautiful. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. That shot, and then when they're in the Wallace Corporation place or whatever, and they've got like this water stuff that's reflecting on the ceiling.
Oh yeah,
that was super cool. And then like when they're in the desert in Nevada, that was super cool. It looks so good.
It does look really good. And like that was the thing. It's kind of like with Force Awakens. It's like we now have the technology and the ability to move the camera in a way that we never could in the original because now we can like really explore the world in another way. Because these are buildings and sites we've seen in the original, but we can only see them in a model perspective, which is great in the original. It really is. But it was just nice to be able to like kind of go and see in more detail. It let you kind of explore that world a little bit more.
Yeah, they built on the world a lot in this movie, it feels like, and it made this just it was super interesting. Like everything, like about the world, the intricacies of it, and
Yeah.
everything, and like I don't know. Speaking of like cinematography and that at the same time, there was the scene where Ryan Gosling is getting it on with his robot girlfriend
Oh yeah, the
or
hologram.
hologram girlfriend slash also a real chick at the same time. And
Replicant.
it's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I know what a replicant is.
Yeah, I know.
just saw Blade Runner, but like whoever she was, I don't know what she was to him at that moment. She was just some chick that
The actress was
found.
Mackenzie Davis, and she was awesome.
Right, but anyways, they did this like layered thing where like the hologram was on top of her. It was like her at the same time trying to be her, and like those shots just I was.
Oh yeah.
Those were so cool. Like
Really?
that layered thing, like the visuals that it created were just like nuts.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I want to talk about Joy as a character. She is like just the idea of her on a conceptual level really ties in well with the theme of the movie, which I liked.
Mhm.
And obviously, like you said, the visuals of how the way like light would reflect off her because she's a hologram.
Mhm.
Those are always interesting. But I like the idea that she is essentially an artificial intelligence, like a phone,
Mhm.
for an artificial intelligence. Like Ryan Gosling starts to have an attachment to her character, and yet he himself is a replicant. So it's artificial intelligence, and their connection to it. And there's a great shot in the movie where it's, they kind of address the issue that, there are joys for everybody. It's like the equivalent of your iPhone.
Mhm.
But it's like, it doesn't matter because she's real to him. It's like the concept of what is real to us. Are replicants human? Are they not human because of their not born? There's a great level of conversation here. And these really deep themes about creation, which fit better in this movie than they did in, like, say, Alien Covenant, which I think Ridley Scott tried to bring a lot of he wanted to address and talk about a lot of these themes as far as our God and creators and reality in that movie, but it doesn't fit there where it fits and belongs here in Blade Runner. The movie almost plays like kind of Blade Runner in reverse, because Blade Runner, it's a cop hunting replicants, where here we put the focus on a replicant. And it shows how much times have changed since 1982 when the first one came out to 2017, where now we sort of identify with the replicants. That's why they're the protagonists in this one.
Now, in the trailers, does it say that Ryan
They do, or they don't clearly say it, but
I mean, pretty much immediately in the movie they tell you. So
they
it's
tell
not
you,
like
and it's also, and Denis Villeneuve has said in interviews, like they've addressed that he is a replicant.
okay.
So that's not a spoiler. And if the director says it before the movie comes out, we're allowed to say it.
And also, if they say it in the very first scene of the movie, I
Yeah.
think it's okay.
I don't think the
Like,
first
it's a main
like,
part of the
you're like,
movie.
oh my god, he's the rep. Like that's the mystery.
Yeah,
But-
it's a 2.5-hour movie. You're gonna find out pretty soon. Like you got a lot of movie to write out with that knowledge. So
So it's almost like they did like Blade Runner, like kind of like they took the best elements of the first Blade Runner. They're like, okay, we got a cop, and then everyone loved Rutger Hauer, who was a replicant. Let's put those two things together and make that movie from the perspective. So you have the hunting down portion, and then you have the we're being chased portion. So it really is just a fascinating movie to watch.
a lot of the time in the movie, I was thinking to myself like, what is going on right now? But there's two types of that, There's
Yeah.
there's a what's going on because the filmmakers did a bad job and like you literally like the plot makes no sense, and there's also what is going on because they set up such a great mystery.
Oh, yeah.
That you're like you have all these ideas and you're like it could be this or it could be this or it could be this or he could be him or she could be him, and
Yeah.
and it was that kind of like
yeah.
what is going on. Like the whole time I was like because it is a slower paced movie, it's a slow burn and everything, but I was still just like, what is that? And then he's gonna be, I don't know. Like I was really thinking the whole time, and I really enjoyed that.
I was the same way because like throughout the movie, like they build this mystery, and each scene. That's why the movie's so like for me on a technical level, why it's so well constructed, at least at the script level, is that every scene is driven by conflict, and like you're trying to like each scene kind of leaves you with a different question that leads you into the next scene. Like, okay, what is this? And what is this? Two people like discuss and try to get the answer from it. You get a clue, and then you go to the next scene.
Yeah, and then you think you get it at some point, and you're like, oh, so it's clearly like this
Yeah.
must be, and then you get a new piece of information. You're like, then what does that mean about everything?
Yeah.
I don't know anymore.
There were 4 times in this movie where I thought I had the answer, and then it just nope.
It's cool, man. It's a well-made movie,
a
well-written.
Were there any issues you had with the movie?
I did
Every
have a
every
couple
good
issues.
movie has issues. Even the like you again. just because you have a problem with a movie or say that there are issues, that doesn't mean you don't like it.
Right.
So what were some issues that you had?
My issue was Jared Leto.
Jared Leto is okay. I agree, but it's also like I'm glad they used him in small dosage. Dosage is like
Oh yeah.
you only see him twice. You only see him twice, but they use him a lot. Like in his 2 scenes, he says a lot.
I know, like the first one, I was just like, okay, Mr. Exposition, like why is he even saying some of that stuff? Like it makes no sense. No one talks that cryptically and clandestinely. Like,
well,
it doesn't make any
characters in Blade Runner movies kind of do. Like Rutger Hauer has a few of those monologues in the first film.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, like Leto, like all of his scenes are really long monologues, which you can tell where I feel like where like these were either written for Alien Covenant, and they didn't get used there, or like they were like, let's just take some from Alien Covenant because there's a lot of different themes. Like almost there's line for line moments where I was like, oh, someone let Ridley in the editing bay. But also here's my problem with Leto in the movie because I think he's actually pretty good and like fine.
All right.
But my issue is like this is his acting as a blind man. Look up, look down, look up, look down. Every other line he would change the direction of his head. Obviously, did not look at the actor because he's supposed to be blind. Like I'm looking up, I'm looking down.
I heard
I'm
that
blind.
He, like,
I'm like, that's just me throughout the rest of the review on like Max.
I heard that he like actually made himself blind for the role or something. Like he put contacts and like blinded him or something.
He also sent condoms to Harrison Ford and rats and all that.
Oh, did he?
Well, yeah, you know, he said he did that for Suicide Squad to get in the character, but he just likes to do that for fun. There's a moment in the movie though when like he grabs Harrison Ford's hand, he's like, and it, like Ford almost like pulls away. I don't think he's acting there. Ford's like, "Don't touch me."
No,
like
that's
no,
not in the contract.
Like they probably blocked that scene a bunch, and he just kept doing it. Harrison Ford, you could tell, is like speaking of things that were like not blocked. But because they had mentioned in interviews, this like where Harrison Ford was like he accidentally punched Ryan Gosling, and you can see the scene where he's like punching him, and throughout the whole scene, I was like, that's the real punch, that's the real punch, and you could tell which one's the real one because they cut, like it's mostly a continuous shot, but then they cut at one point because you can tell that's the moment. It's just like it looks too real.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. That's funny.
So yeah, Leto, I feel like is my only. Okay, this is a tiny nitpick. This is a really tiny nitpick, but it's like something the text was really small.
That's
like,
true.
In some scenes, it's like I'm like squinting, and on a big screen also, it's like even on a big screen, I'm still squinting my like, what is that?
We were really far back though. I wonder if that has something to do
I
with
feel like
it.
even if we were closer, it would have been like we would have been looking up. It's like, what's it say? What's it say?
Yeah, like when they give
it would have looked like the Star Wars text.
I
like,
only
very
really had
far
one
away.
issue when it was like when they were going to a different place and they like had like this is this place kind of thing at the bottom of the screen. Like I only had one issue of that. Like the other ones I could all read. But you're right, it was pretty small. I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
Now here's a question because this is a sequel to a very popular movie, but it's still not like it's a movie that people know, but I don't think a lot of people have seen. It's not like Star Wars. Everybody who went to go see Force Awakens has a familiarity with Star Wars.
Yeah.
You do a new Indiana Jones movie, someone's seen an Indiana Jones movie before, or Superman or Batman. Does someone need to have seen Blade Runner to see Blade Runner 2049 and for it to make sense? Or do you think they can go in not having seen Blade Runner and still make sense and enjoy this movie?
I don't think they need to see it because really, if it comes down to brass tacks, you could say that essentially I haven't seen the first one. I have, but it was a long time ago, and I slept through most of it. So, like...
every time you say that, I can hear the comment section growing more pissed off.
Yeah, probably. Whatever. But, like, yeah, I don't think you need... Because it sets up, like, everything you need to know. Like, it does one of those things like the first Blade Runner does where it gives a bunch of information in text at the beginning. And once you have that, you're like, all right, I get it. And then the rest of the movie, anything that you need to understand, it explains and sets up for you and builds the world around you.
Yeah. Because, like, there were callbacks to the original, but they're not, like, distracting. They're not, like, if you haven't seen the original, you won't get it. Because they're just, like, garnish. They're just, like, little treats to people who have, like, seen the first one and, like, they'll appreciate it. But you can come in totally blind and still, like, kind of like, oh, okay, this is, it's kind of like how you don't need to see the other 3 Mad Max movies to see Fury Road and to get it. I don't even think you need to see the other Star Wars movies to see Force Awakens. You kind of get it based off.
Right, because Force Awakens is the first Star Wars
Shut
movie.
the up.
But anyways.
This review is going so well, and I think I only cursed once until you made that joke. I'm going to throw this shoe at you.
But it actually made me want to like go and watch Blade Runner 1 again because now I'm going to be looking for like, oh yeah, that's like for those garnished scenes. Yeah, for those references, like those callbacks.
So it only like enriches the experience of this one for longtime fans,
yeah.
but it doesn't detract for newcomers.
Right.
So
as a newcomer, you're kind of thinking the whole time though, you're like, I wonder if that was a callback to that. I wonder what parts of these are callbacks and stuff,
So Blade Runner 2049. Any final thoughts on the movie?
If you are a person, you should go see it.
What about
replicants? If you are a replicant, you should also probably go see it.
Okay. And I'm going to say, yes, you should go see it because I think it's a really... I honestly am surprised at how much I liked the movie because I didn't expect to love it this much. Because I kind of went in with a little bit of trepidation. I was like, all right, I don't really... The first Blade Runner, I like it, but I'm not an ultra fan of it. I'm not as big a fan of Denis Villeneuve as you are. I like his...
All right, well, this interview's over.
Like I said, I like... Prisoners is my favorite movie of his, but I thought Arrival was only good. I didn't like Sicario that much.
Well, Sicario, I think, is his worst one, which is not saying
that's not saying
much
anything,
because all of his are great.
I haven't seen Enemy, so I can't comment on that one. But so it's like, for me, it wasn't like... The only thing that had me super excited for this was like Harrison Ford, Ryan Gosling. And for me, coming out of this, I was like, oh my God, that was so good. Everything about it. So yeah, Blade Runner 2049, I would say check it out. It's worth seeing. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised come Oscar season if there were a few nominations. Deakins is... No, that's not a nomination. That's a win. And if he doesn't win, then we riot.
Yeah.
There are certain... remember how everyone about Leo not having an Academy Award? We should be doing the same about Deakins. Because it's about time.
Absolutely. So, the score we give this one is 2 replicant thumbs out of 4.
That was a horrible rating system.
I don't know.
I thought you were going to say...
We don't have a rating system.
We don't have a rating system. We can just say that we liked it and it was good. But please, let us know what you think of the movie. Did you like it? Does it live up to the original? Is it worse than the original? Any thoughts you have on the movie? Yes, please comment below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and check out more of our videos. And thank you guys for stopping by.
Hit it harder than Dave Bautista hits Ryan Gosling.
That's a pretty hard hit because he like throws him.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and have a good night.
Spoiler alert: Ridley Scott's a replicant.